very stressful, being a multimedia mogul.
I reckon.
Really just...
It is the pinnacle of my career as the Red Boy in Bohem.
What is your full name?
For stage, Sitiveni Talei. Sitiveni
Talei. Where does the Whippy part come in? Because you have gone by Whippy before.
Yes. So Whippy is actually my surname. So my
Sitiveni Whippy.
Close. Sitiveni Martina Vatu Talei Ray Whippy.
One more time.
Actually, no, I missed one. Sitiveni Martina Vatu Talei Ray Vossambethi Whippy.
Damn.
A Fijians like me.
How do you fit that into like official documents and stuff?
You go by Sitiveni Whippy.
Okay.
So some of my documentation is quite extensive. Some it causes problems sometimes when I have to identify myself. I'm like, Jesus. So often...
Don't ever identify yourself as Jesus because it did not work out well for him.
No. I think they'd have to build a really sturdy cross for me. Like, I don't know if we have enough old growth forests around Sydney to achieve that.
Jesus Christ. Politics, another incendiary topic.
Yeah, look, my short, sweet thing about politics, don't be an asshole, don't be anti-intellectual. If you don't know something, admit to not knowing it.
Yeah. And
then maybe hire experts or scientists.
And then actually listen to them.
And also listen to the public service. As a Canberra person, I think we're very well aware, Canberra people are very well aware of the public service.
Yep.
Because every other person's in it.
Yeah.
And the amount of stuff that they have to do, just because Barnaby Joyce is like, I want a bridge in New England, and they're like, great. And then they have to bend over backwards to figure out how to move the money and things.
Yeah.
Why can't the politicians talk to their departments first?
Yeah.
And before they come out
that sounds very familiar though.
Did you feel like, I don't know about you, but as a child, I grew up thinking adults were all smart. All of them. Because my parents sort of taught me,
Because your parents were probably smart.
Well, yeah. Yes, definitely. And so I just saw them and I was like, well, obviously politicians are going to be smart.
Yeah.
They run the country. They're not balancing a household budget, they're balancing a whole country.
Yeah.
And now I'm an adult and I'm like, Jesus Christ, the politicians
What is wrong with you people? You're
smart enough to be running this country. Yeah, I just don't, I think that's basically the biggest issue we have with politics, is the anti-intellectualism.
I think
the biggest issue we have currently in society.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue in politics is that it's a structure that is two opposing parties.
Yes.
And those two opposing parties have to oppose each other regardless. Regardless of how good an idea something is, the opposing party has to oppose it. They can't just say, yep, we think that's a great idea, let's go ahead with it.
I quite like, because it's the Westminster two-party system, it forces you to do that. In Belgium and New Zealand, they can generally only have, they have to have coalitions.
Yeah.
And the coalition often is of opposing sides, especially in Belgium. They have grand coalitions of 6 or 7 different parties to try and form a government. And I feel like that is almost more democratic because you're getting more different opinions, but you're getting the spectrum, and then they have to work together to get laws passed, which means that you have to listen to everyone.
What's the difference between a baritone and a large pizza?
What?
A large pizza can feed a family of 4. That's one of my favorite jokes ever.
That is pretty good.
That and how do you know there's a tenor at your door?
How?
Can't find the key, doesn't know when to come in.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Have you seen those old... Oh, of course you've seen those old tenor videos. Fucking, I can't remember his name. I shouldn't swear, should I?
No, you can swear. You can just beep it out.
Yeah, can't remember his name. Really crazy Italian.
Bonisoli.
Yes, and I love when he cracks the C's on stage.
Yep, and then comes back on for a second try and cracks that one as well.
But then I'm like, the opera's continued.
I know. They're halfway through D'Amor Solaria and he's like, ah!
Yeah, just walk on, scream out, I can do the C. Yeah. Chill.
And it never works out.
No.
Because if you've cracked it once, there was a reason for it. Do not attempt it again. Just move on. like Roberto Alagna tried it a few times as well.
Yeah.
You're like, no, dude, just move on.
Well, it's a real high note obsession, which I'm like, we get. The high note is the peg. Like, the composer's written it there for a reason.
No, that's not true.
Really?
No. None of those top notes are written. Certainly not as many written as is generally...
Has become the tradition.
Yeah, has become the tradition. And then it just becomes about those high notes. Like,
yeah.
And then all the focus is on that 2% of the
final
pace.
vincero, not the aria that's come beforehand.
Yeah. And even with the Nessun Dorma, it's only written as a semiquaver.
Yeah.
It really, it's just vincero, but... Yeah.
Look, it happens on one recording,
Tradition.
and then it has to happen on all recordings from then on.
But then, obviously, that's why tenors feel so under pressure to deliver, because sometimes it's just all about that.
I remember a chorus master said to the chorus once that prior to a certain time, I can't remember, I think we were doing a Mozart opera at the time, and he said, well, prior to this time, the choruses were crap. They sang whatever notes they could. Yeah. So if you want to stay in the chord, but if you don't necessarily can't reach that bass line, it's okay if you jump up a third.
Yeah.
So I took that as I can now sing the soprano line down an octave.
So while the chorus is singing the chorus of the wedding chorus, you're singing Marta alla Martin.
Yeah. I mean, he just said, I can sing whatever I want, right?
There she was. I don't know where they met or how. There she stood. On stage for all to see, showing off like the greedy songbird she was.
Oh my god, I did my first Wikipedia edit. I was so excited. I was reading an article about...
On what?
It's Oceania prehistory, Fiji in particular, and the speculated kingdom of, I think it's Pulotu that existed. So we're talking around 1000 AD or earlier.
Yeah.
There's this king. Oh no, way earlier. I'm lying. It's around 2000 or 1000 BC.
Yeah.
They speculate that a very particular maritime
BCE.
BCE before the common era. Yes.
It's better than before Christ.
They'll often come backwards from today, and so I'll see a number saying 12,000 years before present. And I'm like 12,000, but what? Oh no, present, right?
Yeah.
So
I still have a lot of trouble figuring out when someone says the 16th century. I'm like, so is that 1600s or the 1500s?
This is explained
especially
to me.
when it's when it's the turn of the 16th century. You're like, is that 1490?
Yeah. So my mother explained it to me weirdly as fence post counting, and so think of a horse field and how they have an upright.
You've lost me.
So if you just think of a fence with uprights.
Okay.
So the uprights are the century numbers, so 14th century, but the flat is the actual number.
Right.
So it's 1300.
Yeah.
So at the end of that row of fencing is 1400. Is 1500, but it's actually You spiked the water.
Stop making everything so damn complicated.
I hate math. That's why I'm a musician. I count to 4.
Yeah.
Maybe 6.
Actually,
the Shostakovich, I don't know what I counted to.
I just don't count. I just and it has served me sometimes well, and other times not well at all. I remember listening back to the Wozzeck. I had a lot of trouble with Wozzeck.
I had 7 high Gs in a row.
Oh,
and
that must
initially,
be really hard for you. You should have tried to sing my fucking part.
Yeah, but I'm not as high as you. But yeah, being up on top of that cupboard with Gennady, and I think it's opening night, before we sing, I'm just hearing these cracking noises. And it had to be reinforced most shows. Between shows, it had to get reinforced more and more. So it was terrifying.
That would have been terrifying.
It was terrifying.
I broke a table once. We were doing the Don Pasquale that we do.
The cute one.
In Japan, the Ho Chi Minh one. And they have this at the top where the entrance is, there's that massive oak big table. And at one point I come in and I'm trying to get past the two servants, and I thought, you know what's going to be really cool is if I was trying to get past them and then just took a step back and then just did like a Marty McFly across this polished oak table. So in one rehearsal, I didn't tell anyone I was going to do it. So in one rehearsal, I was like, all right, and I took a step back and I went to slide across it, and the whole thing just gave way underneath me.
Oh, glorious.
And like, we're talking, this is solid oak, turned legs, and the whole room just stopped. And then laughed for about 15 minutes. But then they had to reinforce the table, and that was cut.
I'm quite obsessed with flute. It's one of my favourite all-time operas. I know,
Yeah.
weird.
No, I don't think it's weird. I also love flute.
And I have a recording from the 80s, which is like my Bible version of the flute.
Is that the one with Lucia Pop?
No.
Edda Moser?
No.
That was actually the 60s. Luciana Serra?
No.
Fuck, that was...
Keep going, this is fun.
I've only mentioned Queens.
Yeah, I know that.
And I have been on stage with plenty of Queens of the night, and...
That's how we judge flutes.
That's how I remember things.
No, Gruberova.
Of course.
And the cast is divine, the chorus is divine, everything is divine.
Gedda?
Huh?
Gedda?
I can't remember. We only judge them by the
Nobody
chorus.
remembers the tenors.
But
It was probably Araitha.
yeah, it is actually. Yeah.
I want during a rehearsal period of flute, I broke 2 of the fucking flutes.
What are they made of?
I think
Plastic. Just foil.
No, they're perspex.
Right.
And I broke 2 of them just because I was dicking around with it. And then one rehearsal I came in and they'd just gotten a piece of dowling the same length and drawn like the flute holes on it.
This is your magic.
And it was the John Longmuir remedial flute.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I like when they do things like that.
Me too. Very thoughtful. Can I just say, you haven't said a word about my hair.
Oh, no, I haven't. Well, it is amazing. Like, I'm very envious.
Stop.
But I think you should go the afro. I would totally be here to see
It's
you
halfway there.
as curly as possible.
It's halfway there. It gets so. I'm not going to talk about my hair anymore. It gets really hot. We should,
definitely.
We should move on because all we've talked about is fucking opera. The show is called Anything But Opera.
We have
and
actually.
all we've talked about is opera.
Well, no, we talked about politics and elitism.
Briefly, but I'm going to have to cut all that out.
Hello, people of the internet. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to catch another episode of Anything But Opera, you'll find it here. If you'd like to catch another episode of Anything But Opera, you'll find it here. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you'll be notified every time there's a new episode.
And you know, I totally get why. Shut up, neighbors. God, the walls here are so thin.